kind of moving to solutions now, Sonia. I want to create that vortex of love and light and truth, despite what's going on outside of what I can't control. That I'm in charge of my own house, my own space, my own body, my own decisions. I have free will. Thank you, God. Thank you, whatever consciousness, intelligent, creative consciousness is out there. And I want to help influence people to go more towards the light than the dark and realize that they have power. And Sonia, to me at this point in my own soul's evolution, that's 10 times more important than telling people about the New World Order for me, because I've realized that, well, from also observing other talk show hosts, if you give people too much information about the FEMA camps, if you give them too much information, they're going to shut down and actually accept it because they're terrified. There's a very large percentage of the outside the box viewers that have actually emailed me and said they're not going to come to my meetups that I host because they're convinced there's got to be someone watching me. And thank God I don't get emails anymore going, dude, why are you even allowed to operate? I mean, it's just so amazing you're talking about these things. And the thing is that free speech has power. Our words have power. Our language has power. Just drop the microphone there. And when we realize that collectively, the whole game is over when we rise up and get off our knees and become the spiritual, I guess, lions, if you will, that we really are. And that's why we're seeing the bombardment of our bodies with the poisons, the crap on TV. And people really woke up to who they really were and understood maybe there's a reason why they're trying to attack our consciousness. Maybe we will be able to access that key that can unlock one door that would lead to many other doors.
Well, what you said about, bombarding people with information, they get freaked out and all that. People do need information because there has to be, either it's something that affects you personally that ends up waking up like your own kid or something getting vaccine damage, or, you realize, maybe you start with 9/11 and you wake up to realizing that actually you've been lied to on the grand scale. But then you don't need to stay in the lies and focus on the lies all the time and the fear. And that's what a lot of people do. And, I make these videos that I do a little, kind of humorous sometimes because the fear is what we should be avoiding. I mean, the fear is what fuels this whole thing. So number one, do not live in fear, because that's not helping. Actually, that's helping, the New World Order more than anything, and they like to have us scurrying in all different directions all the time.
Yeah.
But the other thing is the spiritual awakening that comes out of this. First you have an awakening to what's going on physically, and then a lot of people tend to, awaken spiritually and realize more about who they are, who they really are, who they are in terms of their spirituality and that kind of thing. And then there's actually another level that this all goes to as well. People start to realize their individual sovereignty, and that the servitude, to at least a large extent, is voluntary, although you've been tricked into it.
And there's a spiritual connection to that, wanting to be sovereign, declaring our sovereignty, our independence from the control grid. There's something spiritual. Now, there's also something that's it's spiritual warfare when one tries to take away someone else's rights or right to choose. Right.
Well, spiritually, but Alex, I'm also talking about from a legal point of view.
Right.
That there are ways to avoid placing yourself under the jurisdiction of the police officer who approaches you and demands to see your ID, or the court, or everything. That when they have power over your corporate legal fiction, this slave that they own, it's not you, your physical body with the soul. It's this fictional representation of yourself that they've created with your birth certificate.
Right.
So if you can separate yourself, the living soul, the living being with the soul, from this corporate fictional representation and act only as its representative, if you can do that, then they really can't have power over you. Because I know people who've gotten a handle on this, and they can be accosted by the police. But as long as they do not identify themselves as the corporate fiction, the police have no authority over them. They're not under their jurisdiction.
So those capital letters that are on my ID that I'm showing to the viewers at home, that's not me. And that ID there, as you know, you guys watching at home, is not you. And I remember when I was a little kid, Sonia, I was like a little kid, like 5 or 6, and I was looking at like my mommy's ID or her boyfriend's ID. I just looked at it, and him specifically, he didn't look happy. He looked like he was in prison, and it was his ID. And it was my first sentient being cognitive recognition that they were in a prison, even though it was just simply their ID, because of the energy frequency that was emitting from the eyes, that they're having their picture taken. And now, There's so many things we can go into with that, but we only have a couple minutes left. We need to also cover this piece of ground, and it deals with the increase in UFOs that are being seen around the planet. And you made a video about this. It's amazing how a mother like you has the amount of time to make some videos on some of these issues, and you're a great researcher. That's also what you do in the videos. You show people where you actually got the information with the snapshots from the headlines, which I try to do. But we saw a massive flyover of some type in New York City on the 13th day of October. The irony was someone within the government already predicted it, and there was a bunch of other headlines that came out right before that from different sources as if it was being orchestrated. One of them came from the UN saying they were going to appoint some sort of a space ambassador to greet the alien visitors. And then shortly after, the situation in New York, which kind of mirrored what was described as the Phoenix Lights, where they were flying in some sort of formation. We saw it in Pennsylvania on the 23rd, and I just heard a couple days ago that it popped up in Texas. So,
and in Montreal, we've had a lot. Even Karen has seen some. I'm never lucky enough to see any. The UN apparently retracted that ambassador to alien thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what's going on with this. I mean, when you said I think that, that I can find the time to do this, I could tell you I don't have much of a social life, and I stay up late at night. That's how I do it. And I don't have much, like a lot of activities that I do other than this kind of stuff, and my job and my family. So, but...
Sounds like my life.
I think it's like that for all of us.
I know you want to keep going there, but we also have this one, Great Balls of Fire over Canada. NASA investigates, and the story comes from, well, your city, Montreal.
Are you talking about the sighting that we had here? Because we've had a lot of sightings lately.
Thursday, November 4th, from the Canadian Press. Great Balls of Fire over Canada.
Oh,
NASA
yeah, there was
investigates.
it was some kind of like galactic event, they called it. It was registered as like an event, a possible disaster, but nothing actually happened. Maybe it was a meteor. I don't know what. What do you think?
Well, I don't know what it is, but I think that, first of all, I don't believe that we're alone in the universe. And I think we need to continue to question what force is above the New World Order. Having said that, when we see the mainstream media put out so many different headlines, stuff from the Pope, stuff from the UN, they retracted it, but it still came out. And we've also seen this amp up in alien invasion films. Project Bluebeam by now should be something that every researcher should at least know about cognitively, that the plan exists to stage an alien invasion. Reagan talked about it in the 80s to support putting up weapons into space. The Star Wars program. What would happen if we were attacked by some sort of extraterrestrial force? Oh, the world's militaries would have to come together and have a new world order. And so we're seeing this go on right on cue. It's like watching a movie go down, Sonia, that you already had privy to see the script to.
Well, you probably did, because they put a lot of this stuff out in the movies. But I think a lot of it's fear tactics, and it's all just part of this whole messing with our heads and control grid. And if anything, I tend to think that the aliens, which probably exist, are like interdimensional beings. That's what I tend to think. And it's some, demonic or stuff. Maybe it's some angelic ones, who knows. But I tend to think of it as like some kind of interdimensional, and who knows, really. But in any case, never fall for the stuff that they say about how they're going to protect you.
I mean, it's believed by some people that those that spend a lot of their time looking at what's perceived as being the light beings or the helpers, that this is disinformation to take us away from the potential help that may actually be coming into our realm,
probably.
This time-space reality.
Listen, this woman, Colleen, she was talking about, she was making all kinds of predictions, and she channels something, some kind of being, and I don't know if I think she said it was the Pleiadians or something like that, but if you look at the information she gives, a lot of it's false, and I would guess that this is like channeling any other.
I watched her this morning. It was
entity.
Not a pretty video to watch. There was a lot of disinfo in it.
That's the thing. A lot of the information is wrong, and it's like when you do the Ouija board, you're going to rely on that entity to tell you what to do, because they're going to mislead you. I mean, especially if it's an interdimensional being, something negative, I would just stay away from all that kind of stuff.
Speaking for
personally.
myself, I know that this powerful being, there's a powerful being deep within this body that still has yet to come out. And I still feel like I'm operating within 10% of my potential. And I know the truth now in my life that the New World Order is not stopping Alex Answer in the way of achieving his dreams. It's only the part of my own psyche that's blocking my own energy, the negative self-talk, paying attention to those that are negative and those that send me negative energy because they don't like what I do, blocking that and rising to the occasion. And this is the occasion. This is that moment where we're seeing so much come up to the forefront. That's the lesson that I've learned now in this, that it's not the New World Order. It's becoming your full potential and letting nothing stop you. And I think what we ought to channel, what we ought to get there and start channeling is that powerful being that's in every one of us. So we are not living in fear anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, any negative self-talk, any negative stuff you tell yourself, you need to just stop that. That's just another lie, you know. And negativity from other people, you know what? Ignore it. Don't surround yourself with negative people if that's what, you know, you're getting from them. You just stay away from that. Stay away from fear. Don't indulge in negativity or you know, negative people.
It's like what you focus on increases, and I realize now there's more people on the global audience scale outside of Portland that are tapping into this stuff and that are sharing information and meeting people like you and the synchronicities that happen. Some say even telepathic. I believe it's there and I've experienced it. And Sonia, we're out of time, but I'm looking forward to talking with you in the future, maybe having you return on the TV show in a couple of months. But I want to thank you for what you're doing, and I want you now, because we're going out of here in about a minute, tell people when your show's on and your website.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me on, Alex, and for the great work that you're doing. My show's on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. It's now Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 4 p.m. You can click Listen Live or go to the archives, go under Show Host, find The Truther Girls, and you can download archived shows. I also have the YouTube channel, which is The Truther Girls, and I have a website, thetruthergirls.com. And I actually have a blog, too, where I sometimes post my comments on other stuff that I don't have time to vlog about, which is The Truther Girls on WordPress. So it's wordpress.com/thetruthergirls.
And, of course, you can also find her on Facebook. Sonia House Left Key, I think, is the name of your channel.
Well, actually, I don't add people on Facebook. Yeah. I don't use Facebook anymore.
Well, that's probably a good decision, and perhaps some of us should also take that advice. Sonia, thanks for coming on the show.
Okay, thank you so much, Alex. Have a great night.
Thank you very much, Sonia. We've got this headline, too. Police officers bid for a union. Fuels feud in Aurora, Oregon, my hometown. I wish I had time to talk about the mayor in Aurora standing up against the cops, pulling people over, getting them tickets for anything they can. But we're out of time. Hopefully we'll cover it next week. Remember to check out the Portland Preparedness Center, Portland's first survival center, 7202A Northeast Gleason Street. Give me a call tonight if you want. Leave me a voicemail, 503-252-2525. We still need volunteers to help make a great self-sufficiency preparedness center launch in Portland in the very near future. By the way, we're also going to have movie nights, Play Food Inc., things like that, Future of Food, other documentaries. Until next week, I'm Alex Hansen reminding you, beautiful music here, the path to the ultimate truth still starts in one place, within.